You just keep doing private to me, Mary, and that way I can see your chat as well. %, 97%. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for being a part of tonight's program. I have to admit, I'm a little distracted by the Ukrainian-Russian war. I have to admit, I'm very concerned. My heart, my soul, I feel for the Ukrainian people right now. Talk about a massive micro inequity. It's the biggest micro inequity you could come up with. War, the biggest example of this since World War II. So I'm distracted. So I'm just going to say that right up front. Who are you, Mauricio? You're our presenter. Who are you? As a presenter, we usually push the questions to the end of the presentation. I want you to ask them at any time. You will chat the answer, and I will try to read it as I'm presenting. I've got two screens here, but often, you know, I can't do both at the same time. So I've asked Mary to proctor, and now Mary's been having some technical difficulties. You can't hear her. I told Mary better that they hear me than you. So Mary will be silently texting or chatting with me. If I miss something from you, Mary will be my insurance. So thank you, Mary Donlin. Thank you, Pennsylvania Dental, for having me here tonight. My background, real fast: trainer, consultant, coach, expert witness. I work with dental practices, small and large. I work with larger healthcare clients. I'm on retainer, where I'm regularly working with clients, doing like exit interviews, post-exit interviews, retention interviews, trying to keep the talent they have, trying to head off certain exits, certain people from leaving, heading them off at the pass. I work a lot in healthcare and specifically in dental care. BA, if that's important to you, MBA, if that's important to you. I've been doing this work for more than 25 years. I've done this workshop in every state but North Dakota. Monday and Tuesday, I was training for Major League Soccer. I was training their players, the Philadelphia Union, since you're Pennsylvania, and then I was training for the New York Red Bulls Monday, Tuesday. Yesterday, I was training for National PTA. This morning, I was on the phone with Nike of Europe, and we were talking about this conflict and what's happening. Just what a time to be doing this work. I've never been busier, and I've never been more concerned for this country. PDA has been doing a lot of work on diversity and inclusion. They have this this policy statement that I want to share with you. Pennsylvania Dental Association defines diversity of members, leaders, and the public through many dimensions, including but not limited to race, ethnicity, national origin, dental degree, gender identity, career phase, physical abilities, qualities, sexual orientation, parental status, class, economic status, religious, ideological beliefs, professional practice choices, geography, geographic background, origin, hood, neighborhood, and personal lifestyle preferences. The PDA is committed to a culture of diversity and inclusion to foster a safe and equitable environment. So when that environment is not safe, i.e. micro inequities, slights, horrible things are being said to people, poor treatment, this training is about how to address that. We want to create that culture, a safe culture. In this safe environment, representation matters, and every member is provided intentional opportunities to make meaningful contributions. That's what this training is about. Diverse viewpoints and needs are heard, valued, and respected. Again, all of you, anytime you want to ask a question, shoot it into the chat, and we'll do our best to answer. The PDA embraces diversity and inclusion to drive innovation and growth, ensures a relevant and sustainable organization, and deliver purposeful value. That's what this program is about. The PDA's commitment to diversity and inclusion will further advance the profession, improve oral health of the public, and achieve optimal health for all. You know, in my last dental checkup, which was just 3 weeks ago, my dental hygienist came in, and he had a stutter. And because my wife is a speech pathologist and she works with stutterers, I was very calm, very patient, and I just let him go. I didn't interrupt him. I didn't say, hey, I don't understand. You know, I was like going with the flow. Really great guy. And I think he appreciated it. I was being patient and understanding and listening, and we had a great time. He was very insightful. He taught me some things I didn't know about my own oral hygiene. The PDA defines diversity of members, leaders, and the public through many dimensions. Oh, I already said that. We aspire. I already said that too. But that's like I'm repeating this. I already read this. Okay, done. So here's my family. Just real fast. Kelly is my bride, and she's a speech pathologist. Works in the high school here, Herndon High. I live in Herndon. My 3 kids either have gone through Herndon High, or my youngest is at Herndon High. So Ethan is at JMU, he's a junior. Elise, right between us, is at Shenandoah, and then my Maya is at Herndon High School. So I want to say this because the skills and tools I'm going to teach you tonight are not only applicable at work, you know, in your dental offices, but also are applicable at home, at school, at church, in the grocery store. So I like to talk about family because micro inequities don't exist just at work. They exist in all facets of our life. So I'm going to go there. We're going to be talking about microaggressions, micro behaviors, micro inequities. I'm going to help you and your colleagues to deal with these issues. And I might add, the microaggressions can be professional to professional, hygienist to dentist, dentist to hygienist. But most of the issues, most of the drama, most of the conflict is between patient and staff. And I'm going to help provide you suggestions, tools, tips, methods for dealing with these micro inequities, microaggressions. I'm going to build a toolkit for you tonight. One that is very powerful, I might add, and one that we're not taught. The skills and tools I'm going to teach you tonight aren't taught in high school or college or dentistry, and that's the problem. By the way, they're not taught in law school. They're not taught in med school. They're not taught PhDs in engineering. That's the problem. These skills, which by the way, some people like to call them soft skills. The only people that call the skills tonight I present soft skills are the people who don't have these skills. If they had these skills, they would realize they are very, very challenging, very complex, really hard to master. And I've been spending my entire adult profession building these skills and mastering them. My mission is always the same: provoke, facilitate, get you talking, surprise, entertain, add value. Again, I'm in this work now for 25 plus years. And I want you to have fun. I want to have fun. I will have fun. You're here, I'm here, and you're not doing something else. So that's really kind of a triple investment on my part to your own learning and development. And I applaud you for that. I believe in continuous adult learning. We never stop learning. By the way, the second you stop learning or think you know it all, it might be time for you to hang it up. So let's begin. If I ask you what is a micro inequity, what is a microaggression, you can tell me what you know, but quite frankly, there's a lot that most people don't know about this conversation, and there's a lot more that they have no clue about this conversation. And we all mean well. I never question anyone's intentions, but micro inequities, microaggressions are really about how we treat people. I didn't mean to disrespect you. Well, it doesn't matter what you meant, what you said, your body language, you rolled your eyes, you made a face, you stuck your tongue out, whatever. Those are actions, and actions have consequences. So I'm an executive coach besides trainer, consultant. I was just coaching somebody today at noon who liked to use the N-word in the workplace. And he says, well, I didn't mean any harm. I said, forget what you meant. Let's talk about what you said, right? And he called them the N-word fools. So he used a second term behind the first term. It was a disaster. I had no idea. I said, come on now. You can't tell me you had no idea that was disrespectful. Quite frankly, I think the client should terminate this person because he has a long history of saying these things, and there's no excuse for it, right? There's no excuse for it. So there's what you know about yourself, there's what you don't know, but most importantly, be open to what you don't know. And it really doesn't matter what you mean to say. What matters is what you actually said. Actions have consequences. The physics of human interpersonal relations is that for every action, there is a reaction. So I'm going to build a toolkit for you tonight. The trap, though, is I can give you these skills. PDA can present these skills, But it's up to you to practice to apply them. So we're going to impart them on you tonight, and I hope you want to learn. I'm assuming you're the choir. You signed up for this webinar, this virtual course. You're here tonight on I think a very challenging night to be on here when war is upon us. But I applaud you for being here. I give you the skills and tools. I hope you can practice. I hope you will practice. You will practice. You will apply this skill kit, this toolkit that I'm about to impart on you. So what is behind microaggressions? Before we can get to microaggressions, there is a conversation prior to that. And I will argue microaggressions come from bias and prejudice and stereotyping. Now, biases are those, and by the way, there's two dimensions to bias. There's the unconscious bias, do I have that in here? And then there's the unconscious bias. The conscious biases are the ones that you know you have. I don't like blanks. I don't like working with blanks. I don't like blank patients, right? That's a bias you know you have. And when you have a bias that is on your radar, our actions, our attitude, the way we treat people reflect that bias, pass through that lens, if you will. Prejudices is the meaning we attach to those biases. And then stereotypes is when we label, right? Like all blanks are blank. So behind micro inequities and microaggressions is a self-awareness, a self-understanding that we all have biases, because there's people that like to say to me, oh, I don't have a bias bone in my body. And when they go through one of my classes, they go, wow, I guess I do, right? Again, self-awareness. Let me give you an example. I think the only way I can do this is give you an example. So I'm doing a workshop like this, and a gentleman walks in, one of my participants comes in early, and he says, I want to talk to you for a minute. I said, please, sir, how can I help? And I looked at my watch. He says, I understand you're the instructor. I said, yes, sir, but you're an hour and 15 minutes early. I know I'm early. I wanted to talk to you in private. I said, oh, this has happened to me many times. I said, oh, please then. And he's looking at the back of the room, you know, making sure nobody else walks in. I said, you're an hour and 15 minutes early. Nobody's coming that early. Please, what's on your mind? He says, well, one, you know, I don't like you. I said, wait a second. So he has a bias about the workshop. He has a bias about me. I don't like you. I don't like this class. I didn't want to come. And I don't know why my manager made it mandatory for me. What his manager knows about him, but what he won't admit. Number 4, let me sign the roster and I'll sneak out before the class starts. Now, this is happening to me about 4, 5, 6 times a year. And here's the interesting observation I'll make. All of these people have a bias about a workshop on bias. They just don't know it until I tell them. And so, second example, I'm coaching a CEO, watching him run meetings because his board asked me to. And after 2 meetings, I said, all right, I'm ready to give you some feedback. He says, and it's all virtual, so just like this. And I recorded his sessions, and I said, you know, you interrupt the women on your team, but not the men. He says, what? I said, you know, you actually raise your voice when you're talking to your female colleagues. You cut them off? He says, what? He says, I didn't know I did that. I said, well, the problem is everybody on your team knows you're doing it, and they're very upset, and they're complaining to the board. Well, I bet you the 2 women on my team complained. I said, actually, it was the men on your team. He goes, what? I said, a woman would not complain because she doesn't want to get fired. That's a career-ending complaint. But the men were so embarrassed at watching you. You cut off. Oh, and by the way, Sally made a great point earlier in the meeting today, and you didn't hear it. Bob brought up almost the same exact point, and you praised Bob. You let the men finish. You cut off the women. You raise your voice. He's like, I didn't know I do that. I said, the problem is it doesn't matter what you know. It's how you're treating your people. I didn't mean it. I said, don't tell me what you meant. Let's talk about what you're doing. I had no idea. I said, that doesn't take the sting out of it, right? He's a sexist, and he's claiming he doesn't even know it, right? I bet you if he's married, his spouse is probably giving him some feedback as well, right? So in my work, he would suggest to me he has no idea he's doing it. He has what we call an unconscious bias. And the problem is he's prejudicial towards women versus men, and he stereotypes, he treats, at least on his team, all the women similarly but different from the men. So what's the end game here? What are you all trying to you know, get to? What's the destination? If you don't define the destination, you never know when you've arrived. And the destination is a workplace where everyone feels safe, everyone feels welcome. We can give each other feedback. We can call each other out, but in a professional manner, because we're trying to help each other. We're trying to improve relationships. We're trying to improve care for the patient, right? And we're trying to improve collegiality and professionalism and respect for our colleagues and peers in the profession. That's the end game, right? We want fairness. We don't want favoritism. We want fairness. We want equity. We want equal opportunity. That's the end game, all right? That's what, if you don't define the destination, you never know when you've arrived. That's what we are all aspiring. My clients are hiring me to help them aspire to this ideal, what we call future state, all right? Now, there was a self-assessment that we sent out, and if you got it but you didn't fill it out, don't worry, you can do it after the workshop. Don't do it now because it'll distract you. It's 20 questions. You read the statement, then you rate yourself, and then you total your score. Now, if you haven't done it yet, or if you did do it already, I wanted you to answer in the ideal, I'm sorry, in the real, not the ideal, not the aspirational, but how do you truly behave? Now, I'm not collecting your scores, so be mindful that you're filling this out. And by the way, when I was getting married to my bride, and we had diversity issues, her family didn't like me and my family didn't like her because we're different ethnicities and different, you know. So I had, and we were going through premarital counseling, and our preacher, our counselor said, is there anything you'd like to do during these meetings? I said, oh, I've got this instrument I use at work. I'd like to use it at home. And I filled it out, did the instrument for myself. Kelly did the instrument for herself. And then we did it for each other. And it was insightful, all right? If you scored in the 0 to 20 continuum, you are what we call naive about, I had no idea. That's the naive. I had no idea you were married to one. You know, I had no idea that's your husband, right? A perpetuator, that's the person who is racist and sexist and full of hate, and they know it and they don't care and they wear it like a badge of honor. And then there are avoiders. These are the people that witness horrible conduct of another person and they say and do nothing. They are what we call bystanders. And tonight's program is about going from being a bystander to an upstander, leaning in, which is what a fighter does, or a change agent, always working behind the scenes. Mary is a change agent, right? Sometimes we have to be a fighter, call something out when we see it. But I will argue most people are naive, avoiders. I don't want to get involved. And if you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. So this is a new vocabulary to help us understand micro-inequities. Micro-inequities, microaggressions are originate with perpetuators, okay? Bullies, haters, their actions, their behaviors are what creates the drama, the conflict, that the avoider says, oh, I'm leaving the room. I don't want to be a part of this. That fighters go, hey, now, change agents go, we need to talk about this in a meeting after, right? This is a new vocabulary. Let me give you an easy example. And again, I try to make it real. So you know this person. He's that bad parent, that bad actor at sporting events. And I had missed the first 2 games. This is girls basketball, girls 8th grade basketball. I'd missed the first 2 games. And I had some dads say, hey, are you coming to the 3rd game the next game? I said, what's going on? Well, we've got this one guy who's out of control at every game. I go, let me guess, it's Ron. He goes, how? My daughter has played with his daughter in sports for a long time. He's awful, right? And I said, and so what's happening? Well, we're all out in the parking lot after the game. We're all worked up. I said, have you said anything to Ron? And they're like, well, we're hoping you would say something, right? So they're all avoiders. They all acknowledge that Ron is a perpetuator, but they don't want to say anything. They want me, because I'm a professional. I said, all right, I'll be there. I'll be at the next game, Saturday noon. I was on travel in Japan for the Navy. I just got back in town. So I'm at the 3rd game, and I decided to sit on the same row of bleachers with Ron. It's Kelly, me, one dad who alerted me to this. He had sent me a bunch of texts, and then the perpetrator, right? And it, sure enough, game starts, and Ron is pacing on the top edge corner of the bleacher. Then he starts yelling and cursing. Come on, ref, get your head out of you. Come on, coach. Put my daughter back in, you blah, blah, blah. All the other parents walk. This is a small gym. This is junior high, 8th grade. So it's a teeny gym. Everybody is hearing this guy, but nobody is turning. Nobody is saying anything to Ron. So how does Ron interpret their silence? As tacit support, agreement, right? I'm about to stand up, and my own bride, Kelly goes, don't embarrass me. I'm saying, hey, I was put on the planet for these special moments. Give me it. Give me this. And I stand up, and all I say to Ron is, hey, man, this is 8th grade basketball. Is this in the NBA? Have you had some beers tonight? Oh, I have. He lunges at me, and I'm like, whoa, right? Halftime hits, my daughter comes up the bleachers, my daughter on the team, she's like, Dad, that was so embarrassing. My wife's like, what did I tell you? And I'm looking at them, and this woman comes up behind Alicia, says, excuse me, are you Mr. Velasquez? I'm like, I'm sorry, can I help you? He goes, yes, I'm the commissioner with the basketball league. I said, we have a commissioner? Yeah, and I was out in the parking lot, and a parent brought me back in. I saw what you did. And I looked at her, I said, what did I do? You stood up to that bully. Mr. Velasquez, that's your name, right? I said, yes, ma'am. We need more people like you. I got a parent like this in almost every game, and I can't be at all these games. I was out in the parking lot. And I looked at her, I said, so what are you doing right now? I am praising you. And she looks over at Ron, and there are two police officers, one hand on each shoulder, walking him out of the gym. I'm like, well, I banned him from the league. You won't be troubled anymore. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being you, Mr. Velasquez. And I said what I always love to say. Thank you. I've always wanted to say this. Thank you, commish. I love that show. And she walked down the bleachers. I looked at Kelly, and I looked at Elise, and I said, you guys are embarrassed at me? I'm embarrassed that you're embarrassed. That's what a change agent does, right? We're going to get more into that. So what does a change? Well, let me ask you this in the chat. What is a change agent? I say change agent, what pops in your head? Before I define it, let's ask, let's see if we can create a little dialogue here. On a Thursday night, are you getting snow? Because we're on the edge of it. What is a change agent? Put it in the chat. What's a change agent? What is a change agent? I say change agent, what pops in your head?
Mauricio, can you hear me?
Anything? Now, technology has been tricky tonight.
Can you hear me?
What is a change agent? Any comments? All right, Mary, it's on you then. Change agents, we speak, we step in, we lean in, we speak for those who don't have a voice. Now, what's an ally? An ally is somebody who represents, who speaks for people who don't have a voice, for people who are not at the table. We address negativity, we call it out, we give feedback, we lead by example. We challenge the status quo if the status quo is toxic. We challenge traditions and customs that degrade and belittle and demean people, all right? I'll be more specific shortly. So when I say microaggression, microbehavior, microinequity, what pops in your head? I'd like to see this. What pops in your head? What pops in your head? I say microaggression, microinequity, microbehavior. What pops in your head? All right, I'm not seeing anything. So a microaggression is a statement, an action. It might be incidental. It might be for the actual aggressor. They'll say, oh, I didn't know I was doing that, or I didn't mean to say or do that. It's indirect, it's subtle. But for the victim, the object, the target of the microaggression, it's very obvious, right? So it can be used. Microaggressions is terminology. It's used for anything that communicates negativity, hostility. You know, I'm gonna go personal because that's what makes this workshop real. For many moons, my mom did not like my wife. And how do I know this? Because my wife would talk and my mom would make a face. My wife would talk, my mom would roll her eyes. My wife would talk, or my wife would enter the room, party in our house, and my mom would leave the room, right? Highly disrespectful, aggressive, and in my mind, very obvious. But my mom's like, oh, I don't know, I do that. I said, I don't care if you don't know. The whole party is watching you, Mom. This is embarrassing, right? So that's a microaggression. Micro behaviors, the aggression is like that subtle, but not so subtle in my opinion. The behaviors are specific. Again, rolling of the eyes. This term comes from Mary Rowe, and she coined it in the 1970s. We're not going to do this because I can't see your input. This comes from Pennsylvania Dental Association. I am fascinated by this input, and tell me if you can relate. Actually, you can't. I'm not able to see anybody's comments. So, well, I don't see your comments. So, from one of my clients too. Patient's calling in. I need to make an appointment. And you'll have a 3 o'clock next month with Mauricio. How do you say that name? Is he American? Mauricio. Does he have an accent? Can I have an American dentist? Mauricio. Boy, they're letting anybody become a dentist these days. Right? There's a whole litany of these kind of examples coming from my clients. Or I walk in and the patient's like, wow, you are too young to be a dentist, right? Are you a real dentist, right? Many dentists, and I just did a workshop for USDA for their students graduating and leaving dentistry into the real world. And we're getting an increased reports of increased incidence of patients being angry, using foul language, cursing, like they're just so angry, I guess, about other things, maybe current events, maybe political discourse, I don't know, but they are going to take it out on somebody who they don't know, right? And then, you get the dentist who might be ethnically diverse or different, and I can't understand a word you're saying. Can you get me somebody who speaks English? And of course, the person speaks English. Or I've never had a Black or Hispanic or Asian dentist before, right? It's kind of funny. I have never had a Hispanic dentist, but it's funny when somebody non-Hispanic says the same thing, right? Although I will suggest to you that is changing dramatically in the last 5 years. My own wife thought I was Italian, so that's kind of funny. But funny for me, not funny for the dentist or the hygienist or the assistant. So these are some examples of micro inequities. I think, and I'd have my degree on the wall, and the patient says, wow, they're letting anybody become a dentist. I'm like, actually, it's very hard. And I might even talk about my curricula and how many years, and here's my school. Oh, you went to Hopkins, or oh, you went to, Pennsylvania, right? Focus on credentials, qualifications. Don't allow the racist or the hater to distract you, right? Another example, this is more again from Pennsylvania Dental, PDA. The dentist is a woman, she walks in. Well, if you're here, who's taking care of your children? Can you imagine, right? Are you the dentist? Imagine being female and young, minority and young, right? I need to see the dentist. And she says, I'm right here. I'm the dentist, right? Now, I even had this situation where the patient said, you people can't touch me. Give me a real dentist. And the senior dentist in the room asked the junior African-American dentist, you need to leave. In essence, honoring and supporting the racism of the patient. That's the worst outcome. Let me tell you the best outcome. The dentist said, no, this is your dentist. And if you have a problem, I'm going to ask you to leave. And the person had a problem. So the dentist walked the patient out. By the way, the whole office was applauding, and she's now a hero in that group. Everybody's talking about it. She stood up for her colleague. She stood up for the office. By the way, the same patient was given guff to the check-in people. Why don't we hire Americans anymore? And just going off. The dentist finally said, you know what, man? We're not here to help you. We're not going to serve you. We don't help. We don't serve racist, aggressive, angry, belittling people, and I'm going to have to ask you to leave. And when that dentist, now a hero in that dental group, walked the patient out, I mean, everybody else was like, oh my God, I'll take a bullet for you. She's got a very loyal office. By the way, zero turnover in that office, all right, in this difficult environment. A lot of comments about appearance, a lot of comments about how people wear their hair, how they dress. Quite frankly, I want the best care as long as you're comfortable. And where I go, everybody's wearing the same the same. So I don't get that, but I would be the first to tell you this is what's happening all across the country, not just in Pennsylvania. And it's not that this is happening; it's that we don't respond. I didn't say react. We don't respond to these things appropriately and professionally. You got to stay calm, cool, and collected. I'm going to show you what to do, exactly what to do now. All right, again, and this is a workshop, a related workshop on emotional intelligence. If you are emotionally literate and intelligent, you know not to meet anger with anger. You know to stay calm, cool, and collected and use the techniques I'm about to present. All right. So These are some other micro inequities from other clients. Ooh, where's that accent from? Oh, I can't understand a word you're saying. Eye contact, body language, or the flip. I get, oh, you speak English so well. Wow, you're a testimony to your race. I'm like, what? That's not a compliment, right? Oh, you don't sound like it. You don't act like it. I'm like, wow. I mean, people really are clumsy these days. Obviously, leaving people out when you walk into a room, people stop talking. You know, you wonder, are they talking about me? And then I had the dentist that was so sad, commenting, it's so sad that our patient out there is gay or trans or bi. By the way, the dentist wasn't sure of that, but wanted to comment on that. I think she's gay, or I think, and it's just so sad because she's so pretty. And I was just like, what? Right? Like, not your place, not appropriate, has nothing to do with care, dental care, right? At least I can't see that connection. So more examples. So I can give you more and more, but I want to get to the skills and tools because I want to focus on your skill kit, your toolkit, and you'll get this. You know, you can get this PDF of this if you like. That's not a problem. I sent that to Mary. You know, mispronounce. I get that a lot though. You know, I can't say Mauricio. Can I call you Mo? I get that. Which, by the way, sometimes I'm okay with that. Sometimes I'm like, that's not my God. That's not the name my parents gave me. Can I give you a nickname? Because I don't want to honor your heritage. I don't want to understand. I don't want to take the time, what, to show me respect, right? You want me to respect you, but you don't want to respect me in turn. So I do have kind of an issue with the name thing. I really try hard to pronounce other people's names because I'm asking them to, you know, pronounce my name. We are seeing issues between clinicians, between the dentist and the hygienist or the pediatrician. There's a lack of professionalism, a lack of sensitivity. You know, like, I'm the dentist, I'm the boss, and you just, you know, just, I don't care. I'm gonna be rough. I'm gonna be, no. We're all professionals. We're all on the same team. All right. And by the way, don't hide, oh, it's generational. No, respect is respect, right? Across all generations, treat me with respect, treat me with dignity. But how we manifest disrespect, it can even be body language, hand and eye contact, right? The micro inequity, again, people like to say it's subtle. I'll argue. And you sit there and go, oh my gosh, why do I see it, but nobody else sees it, right? So, you know, this was asked of me in a prior workshop. You know, when do you say something and when do you not say something? When do you stay on the sidelines, but when do you lean in? I will argue you lean in all the time. Don't say, hey, somebody's being disrespected, you got to call it out. So say, well, I'm going to wait till they're really disrespected. I'm going to wait till it's really nasty. Too late. You've lost the trust. You've lost the loyalty of that employee, that colleague, that peer. I argue, you know, this is black and white. You're either respecting the person or you're not respecting the person. If you see disrespect, I argue you got to call it out. Now, how do we do that? You have to create the positive environment where everyone feels welcome and safe, and it's a safe place, a bold space, and you've got to go from bystander to upstander. You got to be the change agent. You got to lean in. You have to say, I want a better workplace for everyone. I want a better, higher level of service and care for everyone, which means I'm going to challenge the dysfunction, the disrespect. I'm going to challenge the comments, the behaviors that are undermining our culture, our environment. And that means you've got to be very mindful. You've got to witness, watch, you got to listen, and then be ready to stand up and respond, not react. I am not going to propose an emotional reaction. I'm going to propose a commonsensical, reasonable, rational response. All right. So let's get to the skills and tools, because I want to present them. I want to show you them, and then I'd like to see if we can somehow practice. All right. So level one, you are in the room and somebody else is being disrespected. Immediately say something like "ouch" or "wow" or "really." You might even step back for some dramatic emphasis. That's not the way we treat our people here. That's not the way we provide the highest level of service. We're trying to treat you with respect and dignity. When you treat us or me or my colleague disrespectfully, it really makes it hard for us to up our game, right? So level one is ouch or wow, right? Again, the comment is not directed at you, but you're in the room, and you can't be an innocent bystander. That doesn't exist. You have to be an upstander. You have to lean in. So let's go back to the basketball dad, Ron, the horrible bully, out of control, hijacked by his emotions. After that game, after he was removed and kicked out of the league, the coach said, "Hey, I'd like you to do a clinic with all the parents." I said, "Yeah, sure." And I sat down with all the parents at the next game. In the gym, we came a little early and said, "Look, the next time anybody here acts out," I mean, think about it, these are 8th grade girls basketball players. We should be providing a good role model and not a horrible role model. And you know, you just saw the Michigan-Wisconsin game the other night where the Juwan Howard punched. That's not appropriate. That's not respectful. That's not professional. Quite frankly, I would have kicked him out for the rest of the season. And if they were going to the NCAA, I would say, you are not going to be our coach. I would say this punishment goes much beyond. And he had a history. He had said things last season. I mean, they really got to send a message. And they haven't sent a message until the other night. So actions have consequences. Every action has a reaction. So somebody acts out at the basketball game. If the rest of us say nothing and keep watching the game, the bully interprets your silence as tacit agreement or tacit support. Like, oh, they have no problem with me being like this. They're not challenging me. That's his mind, right? Nobody's calling me out, right? And so we have to all, and by the way, this is what I teach in schools with kids who are being bullied. All the other kids in the classroom have to call that bully out. Hey, now, come on, wait a minute. Ouch. Wow. You know, and if he gets or she gets pelted by all these comments, they might freeze and go, wait a minute. Maybe what I'm doing here is not appropriate. And at noon today, I was coaching a teacher. I said, you have to say to the kids, and they're using the N-word in the classroom. You got, look, I get it. This is your world, but I'm trying to create a classroom, a learning environment where this is an oasis free of that kind of stuff. Here, I want us to be more respectful than, let's say, in other places. This is a learning environment. So I was teaching them how to address the micro inequities of these kids, and they're using the N-word and all this language. And he wants to call it out, but he doesn't want to call it out in a way that he looks like a racist, right? So it was very delicate. But this was one of the techniques. You say to the kids, you know, it shouldn't be me and only me, the teacher, calling you out. I want each of you, I want all the kids, what we call shared responsibility. So in an office, it shouldn't just be the dentist who's offended, but the dental hygienist, the assistant, the front staff, everybody should all be like, wow, ow, real. That's not the way we operate. That's not the way we treat our people here. We don't treat each other that way. We don't expect you to come in as a patient and treat us that way. And if you want us to provide you the highest level of care, the highest level of service and respect, we kind of expect that in turn, right? In kind. So you might make that person really want to, you know, sometimes just repeating what they said. You just said, how old is she, to our dentist? You just said they let anybody become a dentist these days. I mean, do you know how hard it is, right? Sometimes some people don't know what's coming out of their mouth. And by repeating it, they might actually hear it for the first time coming out of somebody else's mouth. You just said, so sometimes you have to repeat. And those of you that have a practice with a set of values and a mission and a vision, you might say, and you might have them posted on the wall, you know, one of our core values is respect. I'm sorry, ma'am or sir, you're violating our core value of respect, and it's on the wall. You know, one of our core values is dignity, professionalism, collegiality. You're violating that value, your comments, your actions. And either you can honor these rules and we're going to help you today, or you can dishonor them and then we're going to ask you to leave, right? So it's nice to have, you know, your mission, your vision, your values as a person is walking in the waiting area, and then of course in the back where you provide the care. I think that is practice. So this is what I call level one. All right, this anybody can say. It doesn't take much skill other than, wow, ouch, really, right? And again, if there's a patient and a dentist and a hygienist or an assistant, the two, the dentist and the hygienist or the dentist, they can in concert say, wow, to the patient. Or if the dentist is saying something awful, or the hygienist or the assistant, wow, I'm sorry, I'll come right back to the patient, and you pull that person out in the hallway, right? And this is what you say, right? You don't attack the person, you separate the person from the behavior. You never do this in front of the patient. If the instigator, if the perpetuator is staff, like the other day I was in, this just happened. We're in the veterinary office with our dog Max, and it's Kelly and I, so it's both of us, because Max, he gets really stressed out when he goes to the vet, so we have to go. He's 55 pounds, you know. So the vet and the assistant, the tech, get into a huge fight in front of us, and finally the vet looks at us and goes, "Oh, I am so sorry. You're right." And we hadn't said anything, but obviously our body language is like, "What's happening?" Right? And he took the tech out of our room, and there was some conversation on the other side of that wall. That's the appropriate. Now, what do you say? Again, you don't attack the person. Let's say this is a colleague, a peer. You don't attack the person. You separate the person from the behavior. If you attack the person, they get defensive. You need to focus on the action, the behavior, and you focus on the behavior, the action, and the consequences of that action. Again, if you attack the person, they get defensive. No, you separate the person from the behavior, and you focus on the behavior. So the first technique is called the stop, start, continue. It's a very direct technique. It actually comes from spousal abuse, marriage counseling, drug and alcohol abuse. So don't wait to that stage of your life to use this technique. Use it now, right? So you start with a positive, something like, you know, we're a team. We work together side by side every day. I really respect and value your contributions to our office. Please stop bad-mouthing the office. Please stop saying you're overworked to the patient. Please stop saying you're stressed out, you're underpaid to the patient. Please start sharing that only with me in private, and get you to understand that we're in this together. And I'm only telling you this because I know we can do better. We can be a better team, right? It's called feedback sandwich. You start with a positive, you end with a positive. I have been in workplaces, you know, a restaurant, and the server is complaining about the management of the restaurant. Hey, I'm going to eat here, and you are complaining to me about management? How is that affecting the food preparation, right? So I had to say this the other night, the Uber driver, again, you can use this technique anywhere, anytime. That's the beauty of the techniques I'm going to teach you, is these are applicable in all facets of your life. So Uber driver pulled up. I was in Arizona last week and going back to the airport, and the Uber driver pulled up and just popped the trunk. And I put my stuff in, and I got in the car, and we're headed to the airport. And I said, you know, this is the second technique. When you describe how it makes you feel, I feel the impact, describe the behavior, how it makes you feel, and then what you would prefer. And I said to the driver, I said, you know, when you pull up and just pop the trunk, I feel like you want me to load my own luggage, which I'm fine with, but don't then ask me for a big tip. You know, who gets a big tip? He goes, who? I said, the person that gets out, helps me with my luggage. When we get to the airport, gets out and helps me with my luggage. I got heavy bags. You help me, you put it on the curb. I'm going to give you, my client is paying for this. I'm going to give you a 25, 35% tip. I've got a bad back. I wear orthotics. I mean, I'm getting old. Help me out. I'm going to give you a tip, but don't expect a tip. If you just sit there driving, I don't need a driver. I need more than a driver, right? He was like, wow, I never thought about that. I didn't mean it. I said, don't worry about it for me, but from now on. And by the way, he'll make more money if he shows a higher level of respect, a higher level of service, right? So stop doing the bare minimum, start up in your game, get you understand that we're in this together, right? When you ask the patient, how old are you? I feel very uncomfortable. I would prefer you focus on the credentials and your qualifications. When you ask the patient, when you say to the patient, I'm sorry, when you say to the dentist, wow, they're letting anybody become a dentist. You know, I feel like that's not appropriate. That's not professional. I feel like that's not going to get you a higher level of service and care today. I prefer you realize we're hiring the best talent possible. And the best talent comes in a lot of different shades and different ways, and people from different walks of life, right? Stop. So, you're the patient, you're on the phone with one of my clients. Oh, wait, Mauricio, that's the name of my dentist. Well, give me somebody else. Stop asking for somebody else. That's all we have. Start realizing that Mauricio is qualified and credentialed. He's been doing this for 20 years. He came from another, start understanding that our standards are very high and continue coming, right? It's a stop, start, continue. It is a very direct, both techniques, by the way, you focus on the behavior, you provide feedback on what that behavior is doing, and then you present an alternative behavior, right? Stop being negative all the time. To my mother, I love you with all my heart. Con todo mi corazón. There's your positive. Stop rolling your eyes when my wife talks. Stop leaving the room when my wife enters the room. Stop making a face when my wife talks. Start being mindful of your body language and continue to understand that we're all in this together. Again, my mom tries to say, I didn't know I'd do that. I said, Mom, I love you so much. It doesn't matter if you don't know. The whole family is watching. They're mortified. They're horrified. Right? Stop with the drama. Start controlling yourself, right? Start being mindful, right? How many of you had that mother growing up? If you got nothing positive to say, don't say it, right? And yet my mom is one of the most negative people I know. And I'll say to my mom, Mom, you raised me. Oh, don't bring that up, right? Come on. So you focus on the behavior, the consequences of that behavior, and you provide an alternative. Stop commenting on our dentist's appearance, on how they wear their hair, how they're dressed. Start focusing on their abilities, their qualifications, their credentials, their track record to provide you the highest level of dental care. And continue to understand that we are committed to your well-being. When you are disrespectful, when you are racist or sexist or ageist, I feel like that makes it harder for us to serve you. I would prefer you be mindful of, I'd prefer you be more respectful. I'd prefer, right? Ladies and gentlemen, the patient isn't always right if they're a racist, if they're a sexist, to the dentist, when you comment on what you think is a sexual orientation of a patient before they come in here, I feel like that is not only inappropriate, it's unprofessional, it's disrespect. I would prefer we provide the highest level of care, regardless of who you think is sitting out there, right? Stop commenting on sexual orientation. Start focusing on the issues of the day. What are their dental issues and problems and opportunities, and continue to understand that we're all in this together. So these are very advanced techniques, and you're paying to come and learn them. Now you grab them, I give them to you. You've got to apply them. You got to practice them, right? For the parents in the room, I love you with all my heart to my son, right? When you come in early, when you go to school early, when you stay late, I feel like you're really committed to learning. When you say in the first week of school, I think I'm going to fail this class, I feel like you're setting yourself up for failure. I'd prefer you say, here's my game plan for doing the best I can, right? I'm going to get a tutor, right? I'm going to go early. I'm going to stay late. I'm going to meet with this teacher on a regular basis. I found a tutor. I said, that's what I'm talking about. Stop focusing on problems. Start presenting solutions and continue to understand that we're in this together. These techniques are very powerful if you use them, all right? I said this to my own son, again, parenting. I told you these techniques apply. When you protect your sisters at school from bullies, he's the oldest, and he's got two very, very, very attractive, very smart, highly athletic, beautiful daughters, sisters. There's just some people that are really mean to my girls, very jealous. I don't know. I say to my son, when you protect them, I feel proud to be your father. When you pretend like they're not your sisters, I feel embarrassed for you, and I would prefer you protect them, right? So this is a technique to give feedback, to shape what we call shape behavior. These are techniques that will help you address, right? I need, all of our patients are important. All of our patients, we want you to come back. Please stop disrespecting our staff. Please stop criticizing. I had a patient say to a dental hygienist, you remind me of my black maid, right? And everybody froze, and that's a problem. Everybody freezes And that gives a message to the patient, oh, keep with your level of disrespect. I would have been like, ouch, right? She reminds you of your black maid. Say it back. She reminds you of your black maid? What? I'm sorry? How are we supposed to respond to that, right? That's a true story from one of my clients. And by the way, it wasn't the comment made by the patient. It was the dental hygienist, the object, the target of it. She looked to the dentist to say something and he laughed and tried to laugh it off. She was like, that is not the response I was looking for. I need somebody to have my back. And the back is, hey, now, I'm sorry, that's not the way we treat each other or our patients here. I'd really like you to apologize. Let's see how far you're going to go. I'm not apologizing. Then you might have to leave because we don't accept disrespect here. We don't accept people that come in here to demean and degrade and belittle our staff. All right. Another technique, and this you can do this in a staff meeting. You call a meeting, before a day or after a day, or maybe a quick lunch. There are two kinds of behaviors in our workplace, in our office. The behaviors that make you proud to work here, make you proud. You hear them, you see them, you're like, man, I have great pride in this level of professionalism, this sensitivity, this honest and genuine respect for each other. But then there are the nevers, and these are the behaviors that when you witness them, you're like, wow, what am I doing here? And you can ask your colleagues, what are the behaviors that make you proud to work here? And what are the behaviors that just makes this work already difficult even harder, right? And this can be as simple as, I'm coaching dentists all the time who have the interpersonal skills of a battering ram. I mean, they are great dentists, but they can't manage people in and out of a paper bag. All the things they do, the edicts, the disrespect, I'm telling you, I don't want your opinion. When I want your opinion, I'll give it to you, all that stuff. Those are what we call nevers. And you can call that out. You can ask your team, what do we do every day to each other that is respectful and professional? But what do we do to each other? And it might be unintentional. We may not even know we're doing it. Give them an out that undermines the dignity, the respect, the professionalism, the collegiality of this office. Either you can ask, or you've been taking notes along and you finally say, look, I've been keeping some notes. I hear these things. Now, you're not attacking a person, right? You're saying these are the behaviors. You separate, again, it's back to the notion. You separate the person from the behavior. You focus on the behavior. I'm a behaviorist, right? And ultimately, we are trying to shape behavior. You may not, so I tell you this story. I'm going to tell you this story. So one of my clients is a doctor's group, and the doctor in question is an egotistical maniac / narcissist, and is saying horrible things to staff, disrespectful, gender specific, harassment, belittling, degrading. But the CEO of the doctor's group calls me and says, I need you to coach this guy. And we can't fire him because he has a specialty. There's only like 4 of him in the whole country. And we have one, we're gonna have to keep him. I said, all right. So I meet with him and he's saying horrible things to the patient, to staff, to peers. He's just a nightmare. And so I can't be specific to what he said because you might not listen to me anymore, but horrible stuff. And so I said to the CEO, are you interested in consequences oriented coaching? And he says, what do you mean? He says, I'm going to propose that every time and by the way, when he disrespects the patient, the mom was there or the nurse was there was always a witness that would corroborate what he was saying. If we can prove what he said happened, I want to fine him in $500 increments. And the CEO said, I'll run it by he was like, I'm open to that, right? He knows he's in trouble, but he's also like, I don't think the policies and the rules apply to me, right? He thinks he's above the fray. So I told him, I listed all the things he can't say anymore. I gave him a list of behaviors. If you say these things or anything related, we're going to fine you $500 in $500 increments. You know when he stopped being horrible? $10,000. His paycheck was light, 10 grand. And his wife called me. This is a true story. And I said, I'm sorry, why are you calling me? Well, I called HR. We got our paycheck today, and it was $10,000 light. I said, you make more than 10,000 and it's 10,000? Yeah. I said, okay. Why are you calling me? Well, I called HR. They said, you got to talk to our consultant who suggested this. I said, oh, so you don't know what your husband is saying and doing at work every day. And I told her everything. And that, not even an hour later, that doctor called me and he's chewing me out. I said, hey, when you say these things and you don't want to be held accountable for the consequences of these things, that's on you, right? Don't be angry at me. And by the way, his wife said to me, don't you worry, I'll fix his boat, right? I couldn't change him up here. I couldn't change him in the heart. But where did I fix him? In the wallet. I hit him in the wallet. And she says to me, we can't make our porch payment. We can't make our boat payment. We can't make our beach house payment. I'm like, hey, that's not my problem. Your husband made a bed. Now he's got to sleep in it. She says, I'll fix that, right? So again, consequences oriented coaching, right? And one of your dental groups at the PDA program I did for you last year, she came up to me, senior dentist, and said, look, we have a dentist that's like a bully and a hater, and I'm an old dog and you can't teach an old dog, he's just awful. And everybody keeps looking at me to say something, but nobody else is saying something. And I said to her, why are you coming to me? Well, Mauricio, no one will listen to me. I said, why? Well, because I'm the only woman. I said, oh, interesting. But they want you to say something, but you're the only woman, so if you say it, they won't listen. I said, you need to get agreement of all the other owners, all the other partners. But by the way, somebody's going to sue this dental practice and they're all going to pay out of their own, right, for the settlement of the lawsuit. So you say, look, if we don't stop this now, a lawsuit's coming, it might get in the press, it's going to be nasty, it will destroy our practice, and then we'll all be out of work, right? And she presented it like that, and then she said, now let's define, let's box him in. What are the parameters? What are the boundaries, the guardrails? And if he crosses them, and by the way, they want her to run the practice, the whole thing now. And she's like, if you don't back my play on this, I am not interested in moving up in leadership and management. I'm just going to be a dentist over here, do my own thing, right? And I'm probably going to leave because this tells me you folks don't have any integrity, right? She was a ball of fire. I loved her, and I helped them. But the reality is we've got to define what's respectful and stick to it. We got to define what's appropriate and then hold people accountable, right? But when you're respectful to our patients, I feel just, I feel fired up to be your colleague or peer. When you disrespect the patients, I'm not going to say, what do you mean? You have to be specific. I feel like you're not thinking. That patient's going to go back and tell people, right? That patient is not going to come back. And they're going to, if you are disrespected, you tell 11 people. If you're treated with respect and dignity, you know how many people you tell? You tell 4, right? Hate goes 3 times as far, right? So have that conversation. Say, what do we do? What do we say to each other? How do we treat each other every day that really makes you happy and proud and excited to come to work every day? And what do we see every day? I don't want a name, I don't want a place or a time, but what do we see every day that just sucks the life out, it just drains you, right? Just like, oh, and makes you consider leaving our practice, the prefers and the nevers. Ultimately, micro-inequities, microaggressions, disrespect, hate is a problem, but behind the problem is a root cause. And then as change agents, we are always focused on solutions, all right? Stop bringing me problems that I already know we have. Start bringing me solutions and continue to give this practice your 110% effort, right? When you bring me a problem I already know we have, I feel like we're spinning wheels. I prefer you bring me, right, a problem, a root cause, and solutions. In order of priority, which one should we try first? We call this empowerment, right? I don't know about you, I have plenty of problems. I'm looking for solutions, right? This is like your mom saying growing up, if you got nothing positive, don't say it, right? You know this person in your practice. When you're negative all the time, let's start with a positive. We've known each other a long time, right? We go way back. That's kind of neutral. You're one of our top performers. You're a high flyer. You're an up and comer. When all you do is complain about change, I feel like your negativity is rubbing off on the rest of our team, especially our new team members. I would prefer you keep that negativity to yourself. I prefer you be more positive. Stop leading by bad example. Start leading by good example. And continue to understand that we're all in this together, right? We're only as strong as our weakest link. I know you've heard that, but when you don't address the weakest link, we all go down with that sinking ship. You know, the tide goes up, all the boats float up, or the tide goes down, and we all look bad, right? So I'm a big believer in solutions. For every problem, there's a root cause and solutions. So again, that head of this, or soon to be head of this dental group last year said to me, what do? I said, look, you sit down with all the owners, all the partners, and say, look, we have a problem here. Let's agree on the problem, right? What's the root cause? We've allowed this person to be this awful for a long, long time because they're all conflict avoiders. And that silence, that tacit agreement, allowed, I call it feeding the monster, allowed him to become this horrible bully, narcissist. Now it's time for solutions. Now you all want me to ascend to be the managing head, the operations head. I need to know that you have my back. And here's the first test. We've got this ugly couch in the living room and nobody is, it's time to address the micro inequities, the microaggressions this person exhibits, all the bullying, right? It's time. And so I said, make this a litmus test, test them, say, look, you really want me to move up and handle these issues on a more regular basis? I need to know you have my back. This is a gut check right now, right here with this team. She loved it. She absolutely loved it. And the last time I heard, she was making headway, right? I really believe what you permit, you promote, what you allow, you encourage, what you condone, you own, right? Whatever is happening around you, you either support it, encourage it, or you call it out and provide a more appropriate, an alternative, more healthy, more positive behavior. Again, what you permit, you promote, what you allow, you encourage, what you condone, you own. And this was said to me, by the way, by a CEO that got fired for not doing any of this. And he said to me, I'm no longer employed because I did not call this out. I'll give you the CEO. So he calls me one day and he says, I'm in trouble. I said, how can I help? Well, for many years, my two best friends who work with me at the top of this organization, one's a sexist and one's a racist. And I'm like, wow, I appreciate your honesty, your candor. He says, yeah, for many years I've tolerated. And what do you mean by that? Well, they say things in meetings and I laugh or I high five, and everybody else interprets that as I'm supporting them. And I said, that would be the conclusion I would draw. Well, I didn't mean, I said, stop right there. What'd you do? Well, I wanted to, but I didn't know how. I said, so I've been coaching him. And I said, when you don't call them out, everybody interprets. When you don't say stop, when you don't say, come on now, or ouch, or, so why are you calling me now? He says, well, Mauricio, I have to double the size of this company. And right now we're all white. He said this to me, we're all white. I said, yet we serve a population that's 40% non-white. I said, so how do you build up 100 people? We built a firm with zero absence of diversity. Wow. He says, yeah, but we're going to 200. And I know we're going to have to hire people that are going to come here and feel very uncomfortable by the comments of my two colleagues. So I said, so what's going to happen? He says, I'm going to fire my two friends after I get off the phone with you today. Because he says to me, it's time to be intentional. Up until now, my approach to these issues was benign neglect. I just looked the other way. I turned the other cheek. You know, I'm like, it's not my fight. I said, but you're the CEO. It's, I know. So now I'm going to own it. Well, what happened? He didn't fire his two friends. And then the board removed all of them. And they're all out of a job. You know, I know I didn't mean it. I wanted to say, but I didn't. He's a conflict avoider, and the conflict swamped the boat, and he no longer has the job. So actions have consequences, but also the lack of action, the lack of addressing these issues, he paid a price, also has consequences. You know, I like using my own techniques in towards the end of this training. You know, what are you going to stop doing given what you learned tonight? Oh, I'm going to stop gossiping, or I'm going to stop being negative about other people. I'm going to stop commenting on the appearance of the patient when they walk in. Wow, I'm going to start being more respectful, more positive, more professional, and I'm going to continue to care about these issues. That's an easy what we call action plan. What are you going to do with this information in the short, the medium, and the long term? In the short term, what can you stop doing immediately? I'm going to stop believing that I know all the issues in this practice. I'm going to start asking my colleagues and peers, you know, what are you seeing every day that makes you proud to work here? What do you see every day that just, you know, just crushes the morale of this place? Right? I'm an asker. I prefer to ask and listen than to tell. Ask first, you know, put it on an easel, T-chart, the prefers and the nevers, what I want to see every day, what I never want to see again, and you know, this is what you all told me. I interviewed each of you privately, and here's what we all said. Who said this? Not important. It's not about who said it when. It's about these behaviors, these toxic behaviors that are a cancer, and they're really undermining. Look, they talk about the great resignation, the great exit from the workplace. Do you know why people are leaving? They're tired of being disrespected. The people leave because they have a poor manager, a poor boss, a poor level of treatment, poor, you know, no professionalism. By the way, I've got clients. I'm doing the X interviews. I'm doing the post-exit. I'm doing the interview after they left and where they go, and ask them, why'd you really leave? And what would it take for you to come back? We call that boomeranging. It's unbelievable what people are saying to me. I took a pay cut, right? Or my boss was a narcissist monster. I couldn't take it. I quit. I didn't even have another job. I couldn't take it anymore. So I'm working with a client right now, a healthcare, and they really need to fire this clinician who's just mowing people, chewing people up and spitting them out. By the way, what's the symptomology there? High turnover. This person keeps going through people. Stop blaming all these people that are leaving. Start looking at what's the common denominator here. This one person is a nightmare, right? You got to own, you got to call it out. You got to say, hey, this is your 7th dental hygienist in less than 2 years. Well, he went for this. She went, no. Stop blaming everybody else. Start looking at your own actions and get you understand that we're all in this together. When you come up with an excuse for why all these people left, and none of these excuses include you, I feel like you're not owning it. I would prefer you own this. I do a lot of coaching one-on-one, and I sit there and I go, you don't think you've done anything wrong? You don't think any of this is about you? Wow. I did the X interview. I interviewed the last 5 people, and the only thing they all had in common was you. I did the X interviews. Now, you were disrespectful, you were hateful, you were unethical. I had to say this to her. You were unethical, you violated law, right? And the employer let that person go and then, by the way, we started calling all the people that left. I'm the consultant, I'm on the team. And guess what? Some people are coming back because they have a service to provide. They have clients. And you know what's interesting? I said to the client, you're going to get a productivity bump. You remove the cancer, the bad apple, and a breath of fresh air is going to come in. And people are going to be like, oh my gosh, thank God. And you're going to have the people who were thinking about leaving, staying. And then you're going to have people who left thinking about coming back. And they're like, no way. I predicted it. And guess what? It's already happened. In 2 weeks, they have changed the culture, the trajectory, the feel of that place by removing the bad apple. By the way, nobody thought that they would fire. And by the way, the top guy said to me, I had no idea how bad it was until you interviewed all these people and gave me, because they're not telling him, right? Yeah, I've never said this before. This was 2 weeks ago. I said to the client, I am really proud of you guys. I didn't expect you to do it. It was my recommendation to let this person go. And I have lots of clients who don't listen to me. These guys listen to me. And I said, I don't say this very often, probably a handful of times in my entire 25-year career. I am proud of you guys. You did what no one thought you would do. And all of a sudden, people are trusting leadership again. People are trusting management. People are like, I'm going to give this place a chance. All right. I interviewed, by the way, the 3 people still there. 6 people have left. By the way, they have 5 openings. They are all overworked, overstressed, under-resourced, and nobody wants to work for them. And by the way, they're either leaving or they're transferring out of this particular department. And it's because nobody will just say, this ugly couch in the living room has to be moved out of here. Well, why? They're disrespectful, they're hateful, they're bullies. I mean, all of the above. It's unbelievable. I'm like, how did this person last this long? Well, nobody wanted it, right? Enough of that. The person's Teflon, the person's got a big book of business, the person makes a lot of money. Do the math. Look how much it's costing you in turnover, how much it's costing you in new hiring and reorientation, relocation. I mean, if you really do the math, it doesn't make sense, right? And in Pennsylvania, you're an at-will state. I always like, you can fire people for almost any reason, right? I'm just being blunt. Now that's my job. So I don't think I can see your chats. How do I get your questions? Shoot at my feet, ask questions. Mary, can you somehow relay? I haven't seen a chat, a comment all night, and now I'm ready to shoot at my feet and make me dance. What questions do you have for me? You know, I've given you techniques, the problem solving, the prefers and the nevers. This technique is called the iMessage, giving feedback. And by the way, you can use this in a positive way when you come in early, when you are extra attentive with our patients, with our clients. I feel proud to be on your team, right? That's how you give positive praise. You got to stop. Look, I'm working with a practice and I'm observing. All I'm doing is sitting in the main lobby. It's a big practice. And I'm listening, and the hygienist up front says, oh man, look what the cat dragged in. And she didn't know I heard her. Well, not the hygienist, the front desk person. Look what the cat dragged in. And the other person goes, oh my God. And they started gossiping about the new patient as this person's walking in. Now, they didn't know I was the trainer and the consultant, and I was going to be training them later in the day. So I took that observation. And then in the meeting and the training, I said, you know, when you badmouth the patient as they're walking in and they're looking at each other like, did he hear us? When you criticize the patient based on their appearance or based on their last name, or maybe they've been here before, you know, I feel like you're setting that patient up for a fall. I would prefer we're positive with all patients. We raise the bar. We smile. I felt like Ricardo Montalban in Fantasy Island. Smiles, everyone, right? These folks were toxic, looking for excuse to be more negative. Patient walks in. Oh, here's an opportunity. Look what the cat dragged in. Right? I said, you got to stop doing that. They're like, you heard us. I said, well, not only did I hear you, but I think the patient heard you. You were loud, right? Stop criticizing the patient as they walk in based solely on appearance or based on anything. Start being positive and professional, and get you understand that we're in this together. So I'll tell you this story because I can't see anything.
Mauricio,
I was
can you hear
doing
me?
a workshop for a hospital in Maryland, and I didn't know that the CEO had walked in, was sitting in the back, and I'm doing a workshop, and we're talking about diversity, inclusion, respect, welcoming environment, and all of a sudden the CEO in the back stands up. His name is Vic. He says, hey, Mauricio. I said, Vic, Mr. Broccoli, oh, how are you? I didn't know you were back there. You want to come up and say something? He goes, yeah. He walks up. He says, let me tell you, as Mauricio was training, there were two people in the back, two nurses, and I heard them say, and they're in the AIDS ward, I heard them say some pretty awful things about some patients of theirs. They used homo and all these other terms, and they were giggling in the back. I'm like, oh, I didn't hear that. He says, no, but I did. And so I need the two of you. He made them stand up. He says, the two of you are coming with me. We're going to HR, and I'm having you fired today, right now. I cannot stomach anybody here being anti-gay, homophobic. And on top of that, worse than that, they work in the AIDS ward. I'm over. I'm done with this. And he walks them out. I'm sitting there going, what? The whole hospital was buzzing because he is a change agent. He is a hero. I'll take a bullet for him. He was phenomenal. And afterwards, he said, I hope you don't mind me interrupting. I said, oh, Mr. Buckley, this is your hospital. And listen, I love what you did. What you did sent a message of respect and dignity, collegiality. That is what this hospital is about, not hate and disrespect. It was brilliant. It was absolutely one of my favorite moments of my entire career. And I've been doing this a long time. And I get death threats sometimes for what I do. What are you going to do with this information in the short and the medium and long term? What are you going to stop doing? What are you going to start doing? And what are you going to continue to do? The positive, the continue is, I'm going to continue to be committed. I'm going to continue to care. I'm going to continue to go the extra mile. I'm on the flight coming back from California. I was in San Jose 2 days ago. And I'm that guy. This gentleman is trying to put his bag. I get up and I help him push his bag in. And he reeks of cigarettes and he's frail. I'm like, this guy might have emphysema or something. So, I help him. He's like, thanks, oh, it's all good. And this other woman, I helped her, right? And I just see that. And I see nobody else getting up to help. Now, you might call that a random act of kindness. I call it decency. And I sat down and I said, I look forward to the day where we're all fighting to help each other versus there was one flight, I fly a lot. There was one flight, I helped 7 people with their luggage. And one guy tapped me on the shoulder and said, you're a good man. I said, thank you. But like nobody else would get up. They're really appreciative of me helping. I mean, really, have we come to that? Right? Have we come to that where it's like, oh, I don't want to be bothered. Oh, I don't want to help. I was raised very differently. Maybe that's a difference. I was raised very differently. Where you help others, if you were present, and I'm the guy that I see this guy. I'm at a light with my kids, and I see this guy across the light. He's run out of gas, and he's trying to push his car across the intersection into the parking, the gas station. And I pull over. I go, come on, let's go help him. And my kids are like, what's happening? I said, come on, and we go over there and we push him, and he's like, thanks a lot. I said, it's all good, man. Not to mention, if he gets stuck in the middle, no one's gonna go anywhere, right? Afterwards, we got back in the car and my kids were like, Dad, you need to explain what we're doing. I said, what do you mean? You just jumped up and left. We didn't know what was happening. I'm like, oh, right, sorry. I just see a person in need. That's what a change agent does. You see somebody in need, you can't, if I don't do something, it rocks my inside out. I think about it for days later. Oh, I should have said something. I should have done something. That's what a change agent does, right? It is a blessing and a curse because they're often, my wife's like, oh, don't get in the middle of this. Like, I'm at a mall a couple of years ago. I'm with Kelly and my kids, and this guy is just in a huge fight with his wife and smacks her on the face. And I come over, and another guy comes over, and we're like separating, like, hey, man, are you all right? Ma'am, are you okay? And he's like, hey, this isn't any of your business. I said, you're in a mall. There's like cameras on you. And we're talking to him, and the wife and the daughter, they take off, and we held him, and as she's running away, she's like, thank you. I never saw her again, but I'm like, I can't watch that. I'm sorry, right? And the other dad or the other guy looked at me and said, it's all good. And I looked at him and said, look, you are beating your wife up in public. What are you doing? Look, get help, man. And I worked in a shelter for battered wives. I said, get help, man. Do it for her. Do it for you. The look in her eyes of sheer terror said, I got to do something. So it's a curse, but that's what a change agent does. Oh, I got something. There's a big issue with finding quality employees. I have employees I need to spend time with to fine tune how they provide care, but I'm afraid to criticize anything because I don't want to lose anyone. Yeah, don't criticize. Say, look, we have a problem here. I think this is the root cause. What do you think is the root cause? And then what do you think are the solutions? And hopefully they come up with a solution that you are okay. Yeah, sounds brilliant. Go with it. So it's not, you say to your employees, I'm not here to criticize. I'm here to provide feedback so you can improve, so you can be better. So anybody, you call it all hands meeting. I am here to provide positive, constructive feedback, right? I want you to be aware that you keep making the same mistakes. Please stop and try to own, try to learn, try to take ownership of these mistakes. Start focusing on what to do instead of this mistake and continue to stand that we're in this together. When I keep giving you feedback and coaching and showing you how to do it right, and you keep doing it differently or wrong, I feel like you're not listening. And I prefer that, and by the way, this could be your fault. You got that? Yeah, I got that. You ready? Yeah, I'm ready. No, show me what I just told you. If they can show you, then they digested it. Then they own it. Then they consumed it, digested it. But just to say to somebody, you got that? Oh yeah, I got that. that might be a sign, that they really didn't get it, but they're so embarrassed. It's called saving face. What do you do when your boss is the bully? All right, now we're getting somewhere. If you can't say to your boss, please, I love my job. I love working here. I enjoy the environment. Please stop bullying me, or please stop. And they're going to say, well, what do you mean by that? Be specific. You raise your voice, you get in their grill, you tell them, you don't ask them. I don't know what the bullying is exactly. You got to stop doing, you got to start listening, you got to start asking, and you got to get to understand that we like working here. We like the work. You're making it more difficult. When you bully, I feel like you don't understand the work is already hard enough. You're making it harder. I would prefer you not bully. So you got to be specific, because the bully's going to go, what do you mean by bullying? Well, you raise your voice, you get in their grill, you point at them, you say, hey, that's bullying, right? Or you're a gossip. Can you believe what? Stop gossiping. Stop talking about people that aren't here. Start only talking about people that are present. Can you speak to developing a mission statement for offices to get in front? Yeah, what's our mission? What are we trying to accomplish here? It's not the mission. It's not that you got to define the destination. We want to be the dental, office of choice in this county, right? That's your mission and your vision. What are the core values that are going to get you there? We have a core value of respect, or professionalism, or dignity, or trust. And it's when people violate the values, right? One of our values is trust each other. When you call out an employee, when you allege or accuse them of lying or stealing, I feel like you don't trust that employee. I would prefer you explain, what's going on here. When you backstab, when you hear gossip, I feel like you're violating our value of trust, right? So you need not only a vision and mission, but you need core values. Call them ground rules or code of conduct. But see, horrible, terrible actors always operate in that space. Oh, I didn't know I couldn't do that. I didn't know, right? You need values. Values, core values, pin perpetuators in. They can't, you got to narrow, you got to create guardrails, you got to create swim lanes. And this is what you need in place so that the bad actor doesn't swim in other lanes. You can't do that. One of our core values is you're violating that core value. It's posted, we've all to it. Now, if I don't hold you accountable, this place is anarchy. Is it a microaggression to use one's diversity and inclusion to push an agenda? Well, it can be. That's a pretty broad, generic question. If this just happened to me today, this person doesn't like the use of the N-word. Right now, this person is working with a whole bunch of people that use the N-word all the time, doesn't get offended until the manager uses the N-word, loses his mind. I said, wait a second, what did you say to all these other people? Well, I'm not offended when they say it, but when my manager said, no, you can't have selective values. And I said to the manager, you made a mistake. He says, I did, I apologize, everybody. But this particular person is using their agenda, their diversity as, I said, I would agree. Right? What's respect? Respect for everybody, not I'm okay with everybody else's disrespect, but what you just said is horrible. I don't agree. So it is possible, but if you focus on respect and dignity for all, there should be no diversity agenda. It's respect and dignity for all, right? How do you respond when people say everyone's so PC nowadays and we can't just speak our minds? I'm PC. What they're saying is I can say whatever I want and you can't get offended. Be very mindful of these. I'm not PC. I'm not PC. And then they say something disgusting and hateful. And then you get, I warned you. You can't complain. I warned you I'm not PC. You tell that person, no. When you warned me that you aren't PC, what you were explaining is my intent is to offend you. See, the people who say this, I'm not PC, are the most problematic. What they want is permission to say anything and nobody can be offended. By the way, this is America, freedom of speech, absolutely freedom of speech. But what comes with that speech? Consequence of that speech, right? When you say these horrible things, and then you say, but I'm not PC, I feel like you think that's license. That's not license. You can't say whatever you want. This is a professional work environment, right? You can't say this is the example. You can't say in a movie theater, the place is on fire, right? You're seeing this all over the country, right? People testing this nonsense, right? And it's, what is respect? What is dignity? What is professional? You need values so that people can't PC. What does PC mean? It means they don't want to be decent. They don't want to be respectful. We can't just speak our minds anymore. You can speak your mind, just be decent, be respectful. I don't buy that, right? Look, it's easier to hate than to be nice and decent. It's easier to disrespect than to be decent. So if they're saying, I don't want to take the time to be decent, then you go, then maybe this isn't the workplace for you, right? This is the ugliest. This is in the bell-shaped curve. This is the tails, right? This is the 5%. These are the truckers in Canada. You know, most of the truckers in Canada are like, they're not our people, right? This is unfortunately the teeny weeny rabble rousers that are disrespectful and by the way, full of anger and rage. And I want to say what I want, absolutely, but there are consequences, right? Be respectful, but without civility, we have no dialogue. Without civility, there is no civilization. So I tell people, let's be civil. Oh, F you. I said, come on now, man. I said, look, you want to have a dialogue? We have to show each other respect and dignity, right? I agree with aspiring to be welcoming to all. However, I sometimes think you can't please everybody. I don't want to live a life trying not to offend. Well, look, if we know your heart and you offend me, I go, oh, I know that's not what you meant. We're good, man. We're in this together. But if I don't know you from Adam and you are spousing some nasty stuff, every consequence should come to you, right? Every consequence. If people know your heart and you're a decent person, they'll give you the benefit of the doubt, right? But if you're saying, I don't know you from Adam and I'm going to say some nasty stuff and I'm not PC, hey, man, the world is getting smaller. I hope the world is getting bigger for respect and dignity and professionalism. I hope the world is getting smaller for nasty perpetuators, haters, right? What do you do when your boss trashes you without a reason and the other people do not stand up? Leave, right? First say something like, wow, when no one here finds what you just did to me offensive, I feel like I'm surrounded by a bunch of victims, right? That's abuse. I would prefer that somebody, look, I'm going to give you the moment of truth for me. This is a great example. My boss calls a meeting. I'm in HR and I'm the lowest guy on the ladder of status, the most junior, but I'm on the team. She calls a staff meeting. We're all walking in and she looks at me, she goes, Marisha, what are you doing here? I said, well, you called a staff meeting. I'm on the staff. I got the email. Oh yeah, but this is a need to know meeting and you don't need to know. And she waved her hand at me like I was a bothersome gnat or feeling like shoo fly. And I look back, this is your story. I look back and nobody could make eye contact because my boss was a narcissist bully. And I looked at everybody. I said, wow. And I went back to my cubicle. What did I start doing? Finishing my resume. I had it on the street before close of business, right? And when I quit, I got a job 2 weeks later. I quit. My boss was like, why are you quitting? I'm like, because you're a horrible person. You're a bully. You're nasty. Oh, and I find out that I'm the 5th guy in this job in 3 years. You're chewing up and spitting people out. We're all traumatized. We're all have PTSD. I quit gladly, and I got to go. And she says to me, oh, man, I'm so angry you. I could punch you in the face. And this is cubicles. And I raise my voice. Oh, hit me as hard as you can right here on the chin so I can get you on assault. I'll call the police. I was that furious because she's horrible. So if you think this person is open to feedback, give them feedback. You know, when you yell at me or when you scream at me or when you disrespect me, especially in front of other people, I find it hard to give you my 100% best levels of professionalism, dignity, and service. Yeah, I would prefer you never bully me, especially in front of other people. Don't bully me in private. Look, use a technique. If it doesn't work, move on. Look, people are leaving the workplace not because of the pay. They're leaving because they're tired of the disrespect. They're tired of the bullying, the hate. And the problem is the bully doesn't even sometimes know that they're the bully. Or if they know, they own it like a badge of honor, right? Thank you, everybody. Woo, you came in late with the input. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for letting me do this work. I hope you can tell I love what I do. And I hope you can tell that there's a lot of work out there. There's a lot of perpetuators, a lot of nasty. You know, I'm on Facebook all the time. I'm like, wow, do you know what you're saying here? like, ouch, like, really? Like, you know, and I just sit there, I'm in awe. The hate, the nastiness. Thank you, Mary, you're the best. PDA, peace out, everybody. Take care, and let's pray for Ukraine. I'm really worried. I don't know if I can even sleep tonight. I'm watching the videos of the bombings and the killings, and man, what happens when the leader of a country is this narcissist, hater, and liar, serial liar? Peace out, everybody. Take care. I realize it's past 8:30.